Hi everyone, today we are going to learn a new lesson from Oxford New Pathways, Unit 1, Human Bonds, and the Section 1, My Big Brother, written by Munshi Premchand. Let's read, enjoy, and understand the text. Human Bonds. It is the first unit of this textbook. It completely talks about human bonds and the human relationships. The first lesson is completely about his big brother and himself. My Big Brother. My Big Brother was written by Munshi Premchand. He was born in 1880 and he passed away in 1936. And he is one of the most outstanding Indian writers till date. His works illustrate everyday heroes and address the social concerns and have inspired many other Indian writers. His works have been translated into English and Russian. Let's read this and enjoy and understand it. My big brother was 5 years older than me, but only 3 years ahead of me at school. He had begun school at the same age as I had, but he did not like to be in undue haste in such an important matter as education. He wanted to lay a very solid foundation so that a magnificent structure could be raised upon it. So he spent 2 years where only one was needed, and sometimes even 3. How can one raise a strong building on a weak foundation? I was 9 and he was 14. When he was in class 9, I was in class 5. It was his birthright to admonish me, and I was expected to accept his commands as the law. In the first paragraph, the younger brother is the narrator. He explains about their age and their education standard. And he also explains about his elder brother's education, how he wanted to lay a very solid foundation on a magnificent structure. However, his elder brother spent 2 years where one was needed, and sometimes even 3. In the next paragraph, he also explains about their age. So, elder brother was 14 and the younger brother was 9. And when he was in class 9, so younger brother was in class 5. So it was his birthright to admonish. Admonish, the meaning is given scold. So elder brother always scolds the younger brother only just because of his birthright, and he cares. That's why he always scolds him. And younger brother always accepts his commands as the law because he is his elder brother. My elder brother was studious by nature, always glued to his books. I never felt at home with books. To sit with a book for an hour was like climbing a mountain. At the first opportunity, I would walk out of the hostel into the open ground and toss the pebble into the air and fly paper butterflies, and I felt happier still if I could find a companion. We would jump across the walls or ride upon the gates and swing them to and fro to enjoy a motor ride. But the moment I returned to the room, I would freeze in my tracks to see my brother's red face. His first question would be, "Where have you been?" Always the same question in the same tone, and my answer was silence. I don't know why I couldn't tell him that I had just gone out to play. My silence proclaimed that I accepted my crime, and my brother would greet me with indignant words. "If you study like this, you will learn nothing. Learning English is no child's play. Otherwise, everybody and his cousin would be regular experts in English. You have to strain your eyes and drain your blood. Only then one can attain this knowledge. Even great scholars can't write correct English, and you are such a blockhead that you don't learn from my examples. See how hard I work. Have you ever seen me going out to attend any shows and fights? Even then, I'm stuck in each class for 2 or 3 years. You will fritter your whole life away studying in one class. Why waste father's hard-earned money?" Listening to this tongue lashing, I would burst into tears. My brother was an expert at the art of giving advice. His pointed comments like aphoristic arrows would pierce my heart and demoralize me. I would sink into the hopelessness and think of going home. In this paragraph, the narrator explained how the younger brother wants to play and how the elder brother caught him. So younger brother always wants to play in the open ground and toss the pebbles into the air and fly paper butterflies. And he actually expected a companion who would jump across the walls and ride upon the gates and swing them to and fro and enjoy the motor ride. But after this, when he come back to his room, he would freeze into his tracks because his brother would catch him. He could see his brother's red face, and he would be asked only one question: where have you been? Where he has actually been. So his question always be the same, but his answer was only one thing: just silence. He wanted to speak out. He wanted to speak again his elder brother, but he could not because actually because of his birthright he should be quiet. He should respect the elders. And his silence proclaimed that he accepted his cry. And he would greet him, and the elder brother would greet him with indignant words. Indignant words means showing anger or surprising. And elder brother would take him a separate class that the younger brother should not always play. And his elder brother motivates him only to study and not to waste father's hard-earned money. Listening to his brother's tongue lashing, it means scolding or kind of warning. So the younger brother would burst into tears. He would cry alone, sitting alone. My brother was an expert. So his brother was an actually expert at the art of giving advice. He knew how to give an advice, but in a rude way. So he felt that his comments are like apostolic arrows that hurt him and demoralized him. He would sink into hopelessness and think sometimes going home. He wanted to leave him alone. He wanted to run away from there sometimes, but he could not go. Why should I waste my life doing something that was beyond my powers? My head would reel. After a few hours, I would overcome this state of despondency and pledge to devote myself to studies. In no time, I would work out a timetable. After thinking everything, he doesn't want to waste his time by spending something that was beyond his powers. And his head would reel sometimes. After a few hours, he would overcome his state of despondency. Despondency, here we have the meaning loss of hope and courage because of his brother's tongue lashing. He lost his hope and courage. But after a few hours, he would gain himself. He would pledge to devote himself to studies. And within few hours and in no time, he would work out a timetable. In the first line of this paragraph, he doesn't want to waste his life doing something that was beyond his powers. And how to behave with the elders. He respects the elders and he doesn't want to misbehave with the elders. He always respects the elders. The timetable: get up at 6 in the morning, wash, have breakfast and sit down to study. English from 6 to 8, arithmetic from 8 to 9, history from 9 to 9:30. Then food and to school. Return from school at 3:30. Relax for half an hour. Geography from 4 to 5. Grammar from 5 to 6 and half hour stroll in front of the hostel. Then eat. Translation from 8 to 9. Hindi from 9 to 10. Miscellaneous subjects from 10 to 11. Then sleep. But to make a timetable is one thing. To put it into practice is another. The violation would begin on the very first day. The green fields and gentle breeze, the run and chase in football, the speed and quickness in volleyball, all these would drag me out and would forget everything. And my brother would get his opportunity to admonish and sermonize. Even then, I was not able to give up play. In this paragraph, the younger brother prepares himself a self-timetable to follow himself. He includes all the subjects including the games, food, and his everyday curricular activities. But making a timetable is an easy thing, but put it into practice a difficult thing in everyone's life. Sometimes we also face the same challenge. We make sometimes timetables, but we don't follow. We violate our timetable ourselves. So when the younger brother violates himself or violates his timetable, his elder brother would get opportunity to admonish or to sermonize him or take a special class for him. The annual examinations ended. My brother failed and I passed, securing the first position in the class. Now he was just 2 classes ahead of me. For a moment, I thought of giving him a piece of my mind, but he was so heartbroken that I sincerely sympathized with him. And I gained a certain amount of self-esteem. I began to participate freely in games and sports. If he tried to meddle, I would tell him plainly, I have obtained the first position even while playing and having fun. Even though I had not the courage to speak out, with such insolence, it was clear from my demeanor and actions. Paragraph explains about their examinations. Examinations have ended and his elder brother have failed again, but the younger brother passed, securing the first position in the class. So he also sympathized with him, but he gained a certain amount of self-esteem, means self-respect, means knowing one's worth. So younger brother decided that he owned the first position, so he wanted to go for playing and having the fun. So if the younger brother disturbs him, so he wanted to show his outward behavior, but he doesn't want to do it. One day, when I returned after spending the whole morning playing, my brother pounced upon me. I can see you have become very smug because you have secured the first position. This paragraph. His elder brother caught him red-handed one day. My brother pounced upon me. Pounced means leaping upon someone or leaping upon something suddenly. An elder brother says that he had become very smug because he has secured the first position. Smug means self-satisfied. He was thinking that he got pride because of securing the first position in the class. But my brother, pride has not served well even the greats. You must have read about the fate of Ravan. He was the master of the whole earth, called the Universal King. Ravan was a universal king because all the kings of the world paid taxes to him. Even the gods of love and rain were his slaves. And yet, what was his end? Pride totally destroyed him. What have you learned from his story? To have passed an examination is not enough. The real thing is the acquisition of wisdom. To internalize whatever you study, you have passed only one class, and your head has turned. In this way, you won't go very far. You must realize that you did not pass through your hard work. It was a fluke. Sometimes a person plays a big stroke by chance, but that does not make him a great player. You will know when you come to my class. You will sweat between your teeth when you will have to crack the tough nuts of geometry and algebra. God alone save you from geometry. If you wrote ACB for ABC, you would lose all the marks. No one cares to ask these cruel examiners as to what the difference between ACB and ABC is and why they torture students for these worthless things. But these examiners see only what is written in books. They want students to cram everything, and this cramming is called education. In this paragraph, the elder brother has given him an example of Ravan and his fate. He was the universal king and everyone paid taxes to him. Finally, pride totally destroyed him. So the elder brothers meant the younger brother should not have the proudness in him because he passed or secured the first position in the class. And he also mentioned that he did not pass by his hard work. It was just a fluke or a piece of luck, we call it. Sometimes some people pass by fluke. In the rest of the paragraph, elder brother explained about his hard work in geometry and algebra. He used two idioms. You will sweat between your teeth. Sweat between your teeth. It's an idiom. An idiom is a phrase or expression that typically presents a figurative, non literal meaning attached to the phrase. The idiom sweat between your teeth meaning to do something through hard physical work without any help from anyone. The second idiom in this paragraph, you will have to crack the tough nuts of geometry and algebra. Elder brother used it. The meaning of the second idiom, a problem that is very difficult to solve or a person who is very difficult to understand. And he also explained if a student writes wrong answer in the answer scripts, the examiners won't give them any marks. They follow only what is written in the books. The students have to cram. Cram means to study hard. That's why elder brother mentioned education is called cramming. They ask you to write an essay on the importance of punctuality, which should not be less than 4 pages in length. Who doesn't know that punctuality is a good thing? It brings discipline in your life. People begin to love you and your progress in your business. How to write 4 pages on such a simple issue? But no, you will have to blacken 4 pages and 4 foolscap pages. The worst part is you're told to be brief. Write a short essay on punctuality in not less than 4 pages. 4 pages in brief, otherwise, they might have asked you to write 200 pages. Run fast, but slowly. Isn't that funny, my boy? When you come to my class, you will have to perform these Herculean labors. Don't float in the air just because you have secured the first position in this class. I might have failed many times, but I am elder than you and more experienced. So mark my words, or you will regret later. In this paragraph, the elder brother explains about writing 4 pages essay. He cannot write 4 pages essay when he comes to his class. So that's why he mentioned that was a Herculean labor. Herculean labor means heroic task. So he also mentioned another thing, he might have failed many times, but he is elder than the younger brother and he is more experienced. So he suggested him to mark his words and otherwise he would regret later. It was time for school. If I got a scolding like this when I passed, I might as well have enjoyed myself and failed. The fearful image that my brother had drawn of the studies in his own class had terrified me. But despite this, I couldn't overcome my distaste for books. I wouldn't miss any opportunity for sports. I studied too, but not much. The self-confidence I had attained now disappeared, and I was obliged to live like a malefactor. In these small 2 paragraphs, the younger brother mentioned that his elder brother had drawn a fearful image of his own studies and that terrified him. But despite this, he couldn't overcome his distaste for books. But he did not miss any opportunity for sports. He studied too, but not much. The self-confidence which he had attained now disappeared, and he was forced to live like a malefactor. A malefactor means a person who did something wrong. It was the annual examinations again. Once more I got through and my brother flunked. I hadn't worked very hard but stood first again. Even I was surprised. My brother had learned every word in the syllabus by rote, studying till 10 o'clock at night, starting at 4 o'clock in the morning, and from 6 to 9 before the school. I felt sad for him. He broke down when the result was announced. I also cried. The joy of having passed was hard. Had I also failed, my brother wouldn't have grieved so much. Now my brother was just one class ahead of me. An evil thought entered my mind. Suppose he failed once again. He would lose the high ground to humiliate me. But I wrenched this despicable idea out of my heart. After all, he upbraids me for my own good. My brother had softened down a bit. He restrained himself even when there was occasions to upbraid me. I now began to take an undue advantage of his lenience. I started believing that I would get through, whether or not as whether or not I studied. I developed a fondness of flying kites, and most of my time was spent in this activity. Still, I had a lot of respect for my brother. So, in these paragraphs, the annual examinations held again. Once more, the younger brother have passed, but the elder brother flunked. Flunked means he failed. So I hadn't worked very hard. He mentioned himself that he did not even study hard, but he stood first. He was surprised himself. The younger brother also felt very sad because elder brother broke down when the result was announced because he failed and he cried. So younger brother's joy of having passed completely is halved. So younger brother was thinking that he was just one class ahead of him. So an evil thought also entered his mind. Once again, if he failed, he would be in the same class and there is no option to humiliate him. So that's why he was thinking that. So all the upbraids of his elder brother will be stopped. Upbraids means scolding. One evening, away from the hostel, I was running like a mad to capture a free floating kite. My eyes were turned upwards and riveted on the air traveler that was reeling gently towards its downfall. Unmindful of the things around, all of a sudden I came face to face with my brother. He caught hold of my hand there and then he shouted, "Aren't you ashamed of running after one paisa kite? You don't seem to care. You know you are in class 8, just one class lower than me. A man should have some sense of his status. What use is intelligence if it destroys your self-esteem? I am 5 years elder to you, and if you come to the same class as I, and with the present system of examination, it is quite possible you would be my classmate next year, and even ahead of me the year after. Even God cannot close the 5-year gap between you and me. You cannot ever match my experience of the world and life even if you become an MA or DPhil or D-Literature." MA. MA means Master of Arts. DPhil means Doctor of Philosophy. D-Lit. D-Lit means Doctor of Literature. One evening, away from the hostel, the younger brother was running like mad to capture a free floating kite. His eyes only were turned upwards and riveted. Riveted means here fixed. Only on the air traveler means the kite that was reeling gently towards its downfall. Unmindful of the things around. Unmindful means he did not mind anything. The stones, walls, the people who comes in front of him or ahead of him. All of a sudden, he came face to face his brother. This was actually humor in the story. The comedy scene in the story. He caught hold of his hand there and then started shouting and started taking a special class for him. He also mentioned that because of the present system of education and examinations, it is quite possible he would be his classmate next year and even ahead of him than the year after. And he also mentioned that God cannot close the 5 years gap between the elder brother and the younger brother. And he cannot match his experience of the world and life, even if he becomes an MA or a DPhil or a D-Literature. MA. MA means Master of Arts. DPhil means Doctor of Philosophy. D-Lit. D-Lit means Doctor of Literature. One becomes wise not by seeing books, but seeing the world. Our mother never went to school, and our father perhaps did not go beyond class 5. They might accumulate all the knowledge in the world, yet they will always retain the right to admonish and correct us. They know 1,000 things that we don't. So forget that you are my equal and now free. I won't let you tread the wrong path. And if you don't listen, I would even use my hand. In this paragraph, the elder brother mentioned about their parents. Mother did not go to school and father studied only up to 5th class. But they have enough knowledge to correct their children. They know 1,000 things that the children do not know. So forget about that equal and now free. So he just mentioned that younger brother was thinking that he just one class ahead of him or maybe equal to him. And he must forget that he is equal now and free. So he won't let you tread in the wrong path. If the younger brother doesn't listen to the elder brother, he would even use his hand. I was thoroughly ashamed by this new approach of his. I really became aware of my smallness and I began to look upon him with reverence. With tearful eyes, I said, "Not at all. You have every right to say it." My brother embraced me and said, "I won't have stopped you from flying kites. I, too, long to fly them. But if I were myself to tread the wrong path, how would I stop you? Duty weighs upon my head." By chance, just at that very moment, a kite came floating over heads. The ends of its string was dangling just above us. My brother jumped and caught hold of the loose end of the kite string. Then he ran at top speed towards hostel and I ran behind him. In the conclusion, the end the last 3 short paragraphs. The younger brother was thoroughly ashamed by his elder brother's new approach. So he was really became aware of his smallness and he began to look upon him with reverence. Reverence means showing respect on elders. Reverence means showing respect or respecting others. With tearful eyes, he said, "Not at all." His brother embraced him. Embraced means clasping in his arms or hugging. By hugging, he said something to him. He wouldn't have stopped him from flying kites. He revealed his words from his heart. He too wanted to fly them. But if he would tread the wrong path, how can he teach him the right path? Because of duty weighs upon his head. That's why he was always scolding him. Just at that very moment, a kite came floating over their heads. At the end of its string was dangling just above them. So his elder brother jumped and caught hold of loose end of the kite string. Then he ran at top speed towards hostel and I ran behind him. Finally, the elder brother changed his mind and he let him play. He let him fly the kites. He let him play in the ground. He set his younger brother free. Let us check our understanding by answering a few multiple choice questions and a few questions in brief. Reading 1. Based on your understanding of the text, select the best option for the following. A. He wanted to lay a very solid foundation so that a magnificent structure could be raised upon it. Here, the magnificent structure implies. The answer is his education. My eyes were turned upwards and riveted on the air traveler that was reeling gently towards its downfall. Who is the air traveler referred to here? The answer is the kite he was chasing. All these answers are provided in the below link in the description. You can please browse and get all the answers.